What is up, and welcome back to the Build a Better You podcast. I'm your host, Austin Chan, and today we are going to be talking about how to deal with snacking. But before we get into that, I just want to make a quick announcement. I am currently accepting online coaching clients for the next couple of weeks. So if you are looking to build muscle, lose fat, get stronger, overall move better, then go ahead and head to my website, austinchanfitness.com. That's AUSTINCHAN fitness.com. I am accepting clients for the next 2 weeks. I think in terms of workload, I'm starting to have some more time to accept new clients. So yeah, go ahead and apply if you've been looking for some source of accountability. If you just need someone to tell you exactly what to do and when to do it, and take the guesswork out of your fitness journey and getting to your goals, then I'm your guy. But yeah, thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for how to deal with snacking. So let's start talking about snacking. This is something I get a lot of questions on, especially I know when I first started my fitness journey, I was a huge snacker. Before I even was aware of the fact that, calories in, calories out, all that kind of stuff, just like having all the nutrition knowledge that I have now, yeah, snacking was definitely a huge thing. Like, I always find myself snacking and eating a ton of food. Like, for those of you who know me in real life, I have such a huge appetite that is like never satiated unless I eat like a shit ton of food, to put it lightly. But yeah, it was something that I constantly struggled with. I would always be digging the fridge back home, like through my parents' fridge, and I would always constantly be looking for stuff to eat. And honestly, now thinking back, like, I feel so bad for my parents. They probably had to spend so much money on food, and I was just never satiated. And like, yeah, I was just always eating, and that was like my biggest problem. And at the same time, I was wondering, like, why the hell am I gaining weight? It's like, yeah, but now that I understand, it's calories in, calories out. Now that I understand it so much better, I can, find lower calorie dense foods to keep my calories under control, but also fill me up so that I'm not always digging through the fridge and looking for stuff to eat. And even nowadays, because I have established that kind of nutrition knowledge, I don't find myself snacking all that much. It's not something that I do all that much. Like, I usually have like 3 to 4 meals a day. I mean, a couple of them could be counted as snacks because they are on the smaller side in terms of calories, but for the most part, I eat 3 to 4 like protein focused meals, if you will. So yeah, I usually have breakfast in the morning, and then lunch is about like 4 hours after that, and dinner is about 4 to 5 hours after that. And then usually, if I'm feeling particularly hungry that day, I'll have like a nightcap, usually an hour or two right before bed, just something to hold me over for the night. If I find myself particularly feeling like peckish or really snacky that night, I'll usually have some kind of like protein rich food to keep me full. And personally, for me, I know some people do not like the feeling of being full going right into bed, but honestly, for me, I love it. I just love the feeling of being full, just because, yeah, like I said, growing up, my hunger was just like insatiable. Like, I just always had to eat so much, and I would easily slam down like 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day. And then, yeah, obviously, like, I wasn't all that active back then. I didn't really lift. I didn't really do any steps, or I didn't really move around all that much. And then, I started gaining weight, and I had no idea why. I figured it just must be like the way that my body was. And yeah, but now that I understand calories in, calories out, I'm much more active. I burn a lot more calories just throughout my day. It's more manageable now. My maintenance nowadays is probably like 3,000 to 3,500. So yeah, given my current activity levels and my current metabolism, it's totally understandable. And I've put on a significant amount of muscle mass since then. So yeah, everything works out now. I'm at that point in my life where I've found moderation and balance. But this is only through like moments of imbalance, that like a lot of experimenting, a lot of mistakes, a lot of like messing up and doing stupid shit. But yeah, if there's anything like you should take home from this, from my little rant here, is that don't be afraid to experiment, because as long as you're treating each kind of experiment as something to learn more, to be better, then you're always going to be moving in the right direction. And that's something I promise you that. Like, as long as you're not doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. What's the saying? Like something about like insanity is like the definition of, or the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And this is exactly that. Some people try going through the same diet 10 times and then they're wondering why they're not making progress, why they're not able to stay consistent. And that's because they need to change something up, whether it's that particular diet itself or whether it's something within, like specifically within that diet. But yeah, always reflect what you could possibly be doing wrong, because none of us have it perfect and none of us have it all right. Even I still make mistakes from time to time. My training and nutrition looks completely different from, I wouldn't say completely different, but it looks significantly different from, I would say, this same time last year. It looks significantly different because I found along the way things that have worked, things that don't work with my body, with my mindset and all that. And yeah, it's all about experimenting, not being afraid to step outside of your comfort zone and trying stuff out and really learning from that. That's the biggest point, just learning from those mistakes or learning from let me get the words here. Learning from what not works so that you can ultimately find what works for you. And yeah, that's pretty much the biggest take-home message I have for this podcast. But without further ado, I'm going to stop ranting and we're going to head into more details about how to deal with snacking. So, I'd say the overarching theme of dealing with snacking is pretty much you have to be aware of the reasons why you're snacking. And this is like the biggest thing. I mean, snacking aside, I think this is the biggest tip I have for life. Being aware of the reasons why you're doing certain things and like really truly digging deep down and really dissecting kind of the mindset and mentality you have around certain things. Like why you're doing certain things. Is it because of this reason? Is it because of that reason? And ultimately you have to find out for yourself. Is it really coming from a place of like good intent and really wanting to do things healthily? Or is it because you are afraid of something happening or just you don't want something to occur? And so, yeah, are you doing it for healthy reasons or are you pretty much doing it for unhealthy reasons or from the prevention of something else just because you are afraid of something happening? And yeah, you ultimately have to kind of dig deep and really be aware of the reasons why you're snacking. Now, let's go through some examples or common examples that I have dealt with in personal experience and also through working with clients. So, number one is going to be out of boredom. And this is something that is very common. And like people just snack out of boredom and they find that they don't have something to do. So they kind of preoccupy their mouths, preoccupy their minds by snacking on something. Now, I don't think that there's anything wrong if you're truly hungry and you snack, but if you're just simply doing it out of boredom, and think about how often you're bored, you know, especially if you're not like a super busy person, or if you work like a desk job or something, or if you work just a job that has a lot of kind of like leeway, or you just have a lot of extra time throughout your day, just simply snacking out of boredom, like it could probably be up to like 10 times a day. And every single one of those 10 times, if you snack on something, even if it's like 100 to 200 calories, you snack 10 times throughout the day, that's an extra 1,000 to 2,000 calories added on top of your daily calorie intake. And yeah, it really adds up quick. And so really being aware, like, okay, if you're bored, find something else that could be more productive. You know, maybe that's going for a walk. Maybe that's keeping yourself busy by doing something like work related, or yeah, just doing something that's not adding extra calories into your daily intake that you don't already need. And yeah, I'm not saying that you have to be super meticulous about all the calories and you have to be counting calories if you want to see progress, but just simply being aware of, you know, why you're snacking, being aware that calories do add up. And yeah, that's basically it. Just stopping yourself from snacking out of boredom and mindlessly adding calories into your intake. Now, reason number 2 for snacking, definitely not eating enough during meals. This is something I hear from a lot, and especially this kind of ties back into the previous point that people are usually snacking out of boredom, and then because they have eaten like I said, those extra 1,000 to 2,000 calories throughout the day, and then obviously if you're eating that many calories on the side and you find yourself not hungry, we gotta take a step back and think here. It's like, why are we not hungry? Maybe it's because we ate an extra 1,000 to 2,000 calories on the side, and then of course society has conditioned us that okay, we have to have these main meals. If we skip these meals, something's bad's gonna happen to us. So we eat these 1,000 to 2,000 calories on the side, and then of course you have your main daily meals. And on average, I'd say their meals are anywhere from 500 to 1,000 calories per meal. And so you have your normal calorie intake of that's around 1,500 to 3,000. So yeah, you add that on top, and then next thing you know, you're in a calorie surplus. You're wondering why you're gaining weight, and meanwhile, it's because you're just eating so much freaking food. And obviously, if you're also in that lifestyle where you like constantly are filling boredom with snacking, you're probably not getting all that much movement. And so unless you are like constantly getting like daily movement, you are getting a lot of activity throughout the day, you're working out regularly, you're probably not getting all that much movement. So you're just being in this calorie surplus, and then you're gaining a ton of weight. Now, how do we combat this? So kind of piggybacking off of that point there, what can you do if you're not eating enough during your main meals? Start filling up during your main meals. And I'm not saying that you should do this while snacking a lot, but start kind of cutting back on the amount of snacks. Like, know that you don't need maybe that handful of chips like three times a day, or know that you don't need to just like be munching on something, and start filling up on your main meals. Have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and really start filling up and having a lot of protein, having a lot of vegetables, having a lot of fruits, having a lot of starchy carbs, just really filling up with, health. Obviously, I'm not saying like fill up on like 3,000 calories worth of McDonald's, but like you should also be paying attention to your food choices. So really filling up on, your typical quote good food sources. Like, I'm not saying the label of foods as good or bad, but definitely, picking stuff that is whole, nutritious, your minimally processed foods. So yeah, simply focusing on that, and you're gonna find that you stay full throughout the day, and you'll kind of have less of a need to snack, especially if you deal with the boredom thing. Once you deal with the boredom thing and you're staying busy, a lot of people actually kind of struggle with eating, but we'll get back to that point later on. But mainly we want to focus on just simply filling up during your main meals, and this will actually help prevent you from snacking a whole lot, just because your body's actually being fulfilled, it's actually being fed to a significant degree. So you'll find that you just won't feel the need to snack. And then again, this is something I run into a lot. Like, people wonder, it's like, oh, why am I not, I just like, or they don't ask why, but they say that, oh man, I just don't feel all that hungry for breakfast in the morning. I don't feel all that hungry for lunch. I don't feel all that hungry for dinner. Meanwhile, like I said, they are snacking on thousands of calories worth of snacks, and then they wonder why they're not hungry. And this is literally the exact reason why, because you're eating a shit ton of calories on the side, and then your main meals, obviously you're not going to be hungry because you're feeding your body so much throughout the day. So really dialing back on the snacks. And I'm not saying you should cut out snacks altogether. If you are dieting in a calorie deficit, you're going to get hungry. It's natural to get hungry. So definitely dialing back on the snacks. Maybe if you're having like 5 to 10 snacks right now, cut that down by like half, and then see if you can go with that. And definitely in my previous podcast about how to lose weight without counting calories, the 3 plates 2 snacks method. So yeah, even with this method, for fat loss, for weight loss, you are allowed snacks. So again, I'm not saying to cut out snacking entirely, but just knowing that if you are snacking a lot, try cutting back down on the snacks, and then you'll find yourself naturally getting more and more hungry for your actual meals, because you're feeding your body less through snacks, and you're actually going to be filling yourself up during these meals. And also, a lot of people don't realize the power of just like sitting down and being mindful about your meals. And this is something I'm going to address in a later point. So I'm just going to cut it off there. But yeah, just being aware and present during your meals is going to help a lot. And I'll explain why in a later point. But we're going to head to the next point now. Are you using snacking as an emotional crutch? And so this is something in my personal experience, that I've dealt with, especially a lot of people who are parents, who really give themselves up so much emotionally, especially if they have children, especially if they have to take care of, other beings. Like, they're just so emotionally drained throughout the day that they don't really have the time, or like, yeah, they don't really have the time to have self-care and really take care of their emotions and mental health. And so for these people, when they actually do find like time to take care of their mental health and self-care, it's usually when they eat, and that's like the only break they get. And then of course they get that like hit of, is it dopamine? I think it's dopamine. Yeah, they get that hit of dopamine, they get that hit of like feel good during their eating. And so as they start doing this more and more frequently, they start to associate their meal times, their snack times, they start to associate simply the process of sitting down and eating with self-care and mental health. And when you start to do this, then the more stressed you get, and obviously if you're a parent or if you're taking care of other people in general, you're going to be stressed a lot of the time because it's just so emotionally and mentally draining for you that any time you have a break, even if it's like a quick like 5 minutes, you're going to get something to snack, because you know that snack is going to give you that hit of dopamine. It's going to give you that hit of emotional boost. And so yeah, this is why you need to find time to do other forms of self-care and emotional feeding. I don't want to say feeding, just like giving time for self-care and to fulfill your emotional needs, and without having to snack or eat food. And yeah, if you want to build a better relationship with food, you definitely have to take that into account. Like, are you using snacking and food as an emotional crutch? And this is something you're gonna have to like deal with. Maybe this is going for a walk. Maybe this is like actually unwinding and reading, or doing something else more productive than shoving food down your throat. And yeah, to put it nicely, I mean, you're obviously not just shoving food down your throat, but yeah, that's just the way I talk. I'm just blunt about everything. So yeah, to put it nicer, just think about ways to be more productive and take care of your mental health and have self-care, rather than just eating food or adding unnecessary calories into your diet. Now, for the next point, this is something that is less common, but it's something that I hear from time to time. For a lot of people, like, snacking is also just simply having the mouthfeel of just, like, some people just like that mouthfeel of having something in their mouth to chew, to swallow. So for these people specifically, I would recommend, maybe chewing some gum. Gum is like extremely low calorie. I think gum's usually like 5, especially if you choose like the sugar-free ones, they're usually like 5 calories per stick. And there have been some days where I go through an entire pack of gum, and if anything, like going through an entire pack, it's like 10 strips, so you're adding like 50 calories, which is better than just like mindlessly snacking, and the next thing you know, you're eating like 500 to 1,000 calories. So yeah, that's a better alternative. Or even having just low calorie snacks. When in doubt, for snacking, always choose some sort of protein, like meat sticks, cheese, some kind of lean protein, or even fruits and veggies. Just having something to snack on, like, you can get that mouthfeel of chewing and actually getting that mouthfeel of eating something, but you don't have all the extra calories that come with it, especially if you're trying to lose fat. Like, you want to be in that calorie deficit. You don't want to just overeat on calories just because you're making like poor choices because you just want to like eat and munch on something. And then now where we are looping back around, so this point is going to be mindless eating. And so this is going back to the point about actually sitting down and being present and conscious about your meals. And so yeah, this is something that's definitely a big one, especially in our American culture. If you're from America, you probably do understand this, but if you're not, it's just basically the work culture of America, thinking that we always have to be constantly working, and if we're not working, we're not being productive. And if you want to reach that American dream, you have to be constantly grinding and doing more work, and putting everything aside, and you always have to be on that grind. And so I mean, don't get me wrong, it is a very good mindset in terms of getting shit done. Like, it has allowed a lot of people to be much more entrepreneurial with their life and really put their foot down and get shit done and really kind of cultivate and create the life that they want. But at the same time, it also forms an unhealthy relationship with having a work-life balance. And a lot of people, what this has manifested into is just mindlessly eating. Like, people are often so busy that they think that they barely have time to even sit down and eat. And so a lot of people turn to their meals and then they just mindlessly eat it, whether that's like watching a TV show, or whether that's just like trying to get in your break as fast as you can before you head back to work. And so you just like scarf everything down, and you're not really aware of what you're eating. You're not even aware of how much you're eating. You're not even aware of what food choices you're making. You just know, I have to get this meal in, I have to get this snack in, and yeah, I just got to get back to work and then get back on that grind so that I can be successful. And this is a very underrated thing to do. And I would say definitely take the time out of your day to sit down and have 3 meals, and try that out for a week. And you'll find that you'll be much more in tune with your hunger cues, because you're actually giving time for that food, for you to like thoroughly and thoughtfully chew through it and swallow, and really have time for the food to fill up in your stomach, and then for your stomach to send signals to your brain signaling fullness. Because for a lot of us, there's actually a delay between the stomach and the brain. And I'm pretty sure most people listening to this have experienced this. It's like when you're at a buffet and you go and eat that buffet, you start like slamming down plates and plates of food, and then all of a sudden you just feel super full and you feel like you're about to explode. This is why, because your stomach has a delay response to your brain. And so yeah, the first, usually I want to say it's around like 15 to 20 minutes. I do not have any like scientific research to back me up right then and right here, but yeah, I think it's around like 15 20 minutes, like that you're actually full, like that point where you're actually full. Your body doesn't realize it yet until like 15 20 minutes later. Then your stomach sends signals to your brain, and all of a sudden, and that's why, because you have filled up like 15 to 20 minutes before, and then you just keep eating and eating and you don't realize it, and the next thing you know, your stomach catches up with your brain, and then all of a sudden you just feel super full because your stomach was full. And then after those 15 to 20 minutes, you just kept eating and eating, and it finally catches up, and your brain is like, wow, we are just way over the top and we were super full. And so yeah, you were full 15 20 minutes before, but now you're extremely full, and your stomach is like filled to the brim and even almost overflowing at that point. So yeah, there's that. So really, like I said, mindfully eating, being present with your meals will help you be more in tune with your hunger cues and be aware of the foods that you're eating, and really allow you to hone in on your hunger cues. Because honestly, I'd say a lot of reasons why people overeat isn't because it's obviously because of they're making like poor choices, and especially with society coming out with a bunch of hyper palatable like foods that are just hard to stop like eating and put down. But also it's just that mindless eating that combined with like eating a bunch of hyper palatable foods obviously spells a recipe for disaster, and putting everyone into a calorie surplus and putting on a bunch of weight. So yeah, being really mindful and in tune with your hunger cues will definitely help you out in terms of feeling fuller, and being more in tune with your hunger cues so that you don't overeat and you stay within your reasonable calorie range. And that is about all I wanted to cover in terms of snacking. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm going to leave links to all my stuff in the show notes. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave a 5-star review. And Also, please leave a written response if you can. Definitely helps me know if you're enjoying the podcast, if you're enjoying the topics I'm discussing on this podcast. But yeah, and also, if you're interested in working with me, if you like the content I've been putting out so far, be sure to click the link to my online coaching program. Yeah, if you need accountability, if you just want a training and nutrition program to help you meet your goals, feel free to reach out. But yeah, other than that, thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you in the next one.